Welcome back. If you didn't know, I am trying to do a big rating push. I feel like I am underrated. Currently at about 900 elo as of this game. I've actually been dominating over my opponents. Partly, I think, it has to do with the studying, learning the openings a little bit better, and also I can't understate like how much just spending a lot of time on puzzles, how that's been helping my calculations and making me think a little bit better, a little bit faster. Even though I still lose on time, I'm trying. I'm trying. But anyhow, let's get into the games. It is really exciting for me to gain elo and hitting my all-time highs. I am feeling very confident in my abilities, and I I'm doing pretty well. So I hope I can carry it through. We'll see where I struggle, and then I can probably take a closer look at like where am I going wrong. This game, I got another Jobava London. This game, like I am not familiar with this particular opening. I didn't think it was very good, but I just kind of went with it. Oftentimes, you want to bring up both pawns and then the bishop. I'm not playing this exactly the way Stockfish would want, but I haven't really studied any of these moves with Stockfish. So I had thought about trying to do this, but it didn't really make a whole lot of sense with the pawn there. It's blocking. I can't do that little fried liver type attack. I could just attack it with the bishop. At least it can't move because it's pinned to the king. So I knew that had to be a decent move, and I don't know what their plans were. And they blocked with the queen, and I thought this is really good. Also, with them pinning it, I could attack with the pawn if they don't try and kick me away. If they kick me away, I'd probably move the bishop back and probably down here. So I have it pinned, um, and so I went and attack the knight because the knight can't move. So I went ahead and won it. Could have attacked my bishop right away, in which I would probably bring it back too. But I would also have to be a little careful because then they could also push that pawn. Thinking about that, probably move it back here. Hopefully I would have done that in the game if that happened. But I moved the bishop over here because it would prevent him from castling, and I think it would be quite annoying. That's why I moved it there. They brought out their queen, attacked that bishop. That was kind of an annoying move. I wasn't exactly sure how I wanted to go about it. So I just brought the bishop back because it wouldn't allow it to be taken. It might have been better if I would have brought the pawn up to defend it, but I I wasn't sure. I didn't want any kind of counterplay with that queen, so I just went with that, and I didn't realize that I hung that pawn there until they took it. It's like, oh, that's not good. But I moved the queen up here, and really, it would have been probably better if I would have had the bishop up here and attacking, doing that fork between those pieces. And if I got my bishop on this square and I could push the pawn, I could push this pawn up and then have that bishop protecting the rook. But I wasn't thinking of all those options. They took, I take, and they move the pawn up. And I castled, and they moved moved that up. I was just trying to trade off some pieces, try to make the game a little bit easier for me. They blocked there. Wasn't too happy about that, but move this back. Just trying to think of different ways of attacking him. It's like you give them enough rope, they'll hang themselves. I went to attack this pawn. They moved the pawn up, fully defended, thwarting my plans. And I moved the knight back here because I wanted to attack on this side of the board. Move the knight up, and I move the knight over here. The knights together are very powerful. I wanted to have powerful knights. Move the knight up to attack both pawns. That was the only pawn that wasn't being guarded. So I moved it up to kick the knight, and I recaptured there. They took one of my knights because it's a powerful knight, and the bishop wasn't doing a whole lot. So I recaptured that way. Yeah, it probably would have been better to capture from the outside up. Also didn't want that rook to kind of enter in the back way either. So I just did what I thought was right. Finally, after so many moves, they've been wanting me to move that bishop up there to deliver the fork between those two pieces, and I finally found it. So I did that. Brought up the rook, just trying to trade off pieces, and he got the trade on his terms, which is probably good for him. Have all of his pawns connected. I went to just attack the base, like either this one or this one. This one would be a little bit higher priority. And then, like, if he moved his bishop back, I could attack that pawn, and in turn attack the knight or the rook. So I just went and took it. He recaptured, and then I moved the pawn up because I didn't want this pawn to advance. Connected pawns are kind of dangerous, and I wanted to put an end to that. And he pushed, and I didn't want him to push the pawn anymore, so I blocked that pawn with the rook. And so I wanted to bring in my king to help protect things and keep everything locked down. He's just rerouting. I took the pawn, and I knew his plans were to take this pawn and march it down and create a new queen. So he goes for that plan. He checked me, brings it down, have to move. So checked him and took that pawn because I wanted to create threats myself. I wanted to eliminate some of his pawns from his pawn chain. That would create an isolated pawn too. And I thought, well, I can always return the rook here to take care of the pawn later if need be. I knew that my king would not be able to walk over in time, especially with the rook over here. So I felt like I was in a little bit of a pickle. Also, I had plans of taking this down to try and also attack, or this way too. So I thought I had options, but still uncomfortable. So I took the pawn there, moved it back because, yeah, again, I don't like pass pawn. And he took with that pawn with check. I moved it up. And yeah, and he went back and guarded that pawn. But with his rook right here, it's kind of stuck there. Because as soon as he moves it, I could capture it. So it's limited on what it could do. And I was thinking I could take, like, capture a pawn and return back. I thought it couldn't be a terrible idea. Trying to create a pass pawn for myself. I probably should be marching my pawns up, create my own pass pawn, and get it down. But there's just too much space on this side for his king to be able to take that rook. And when he went to attack the rook again, I had options of either moving the rook up here, but I knew I could protect the rook through the skewer of the bishop. So that's what I did, and give me time to try and take pawns. And I was forced over, and then he blundered a pawn. I was like, okay, I'm good with it. And I took his one pass pawn, and it was like game over. For this game, I had a 74.7% accuracy. He had a 70.4. Played like a 1250. He played like a 1050. Opening had a 79% accuracy, 68, then 79. And yeah, I had one miss, 0 mistakes, 0 blunders. So that was good on that game. Now on to the second game. This one got me up to 917. I had the black pieces, and almost all the time, all these games is usually just like king's pawn, Italian game. Doesn't seem like people vary from that at all. So I'm getting a lot of practice in with the Italian game. They brought out the knight, and I didn't really remember exactly how to respond to that. I actually think I am supposed to bring the knight up there, and that would have been wrong. My initial gut is to do that, but that's only, like, moving the knight up only works when the bishop is here in the Rui Lopez. I should know that. I constantly, like, when reviewing this game, I just need to remember, always go up with the knight, because they'll recapture, and then you can bring that pawn up, deliver the fork, and win your piece back. So it's the best way to handle this. So hopefully I remember that next time. I probably won't. I'll probably make the same mistake, but hopefully I won't miss that. But I like this move too is not completely terrible. But I probably shouldn't let him recapture on that square, but I'm thinking that most of the time you kind of want to recapture with the queen on that square anyway. I have to look more into it and see how I can play this better. If I would just play the knight up at the very beginning, I would have a different game. And that's why it's important to have these opening moves down and correct, because it narrows the type of moves that your opponent can do that would be considered to be good moves. So yeah, move the knight up here, and then possibly bring the knight back down here. So just have to remember that for next time. But anyhow, this is the way it went. It's like, did I hang that? Or no, not exactly, because I was like, okay, move this up. It doesn't quite hang the bishop because I could just capture the bishop here. So they move back. I recapture with my bishop. They recapture with the queen. Then I take with the pawn. They take with the pawn. Castled. And yeah, my idea was right after the castle, or before they castle, hopefully I could get my rook over here to create a pin. But they didn't allow it. And yeah, now thinking about it, after they castled, they could just take that pawn there, take the queens off, have the rook up here, protecting that pawn. They would have been doing quite well, but they didn't take. It was a miss. And then I went to attack those. I guess, yeah. Went attack the queen, but I knew if I captured, he could capture, and then I could capture back. So I knew I could take that pawn, and that's the way it went. And yeah, I regret not going down here to take that pawn. I should not underestimate the power of pawns, and whenever I can grab a pawn, most likely it's a good thing to take. So they block, and we just go back and forth. I move the pawn up here because I didn't want to get back rank mated. I could see that starting to form, and didn't want that to happen. I moved the queen back here to help protect that square, but at this point it didn't really matter so much because they wouldn't want to lose their queen to this rook, and I do have an escape square that I can move my king to in case they do check me. So yeah, I finally protected that pawn, like the game engine was wanting me to do for the last like 8 moves. And I was looking to just like swap off as much as I can. They didn't, and I didn't see this in the game, and it would have disgusted me if this would have actually if they would have seen this tactic. But yeah, like I moved here to kick away this queen, but they could have taken their queen, captured my rook, and if I would capture back, they would take my queen and start plucking off pawns. That would have just completely devastated my position. Luckily, they didn't see that because I would have lost a whole rook. So, anyhow, that's why it's so dangerous to have your queen lined up with rooks. That could have been really, really bad thing. I didn't want to trade off my rook. It's under attack. And I thought, move this here and maybe deliver a check there, devastate their back rank. It's also good to have like the rook on this column if you can, or that like up there. But he defended it pretty well, and I was starting to lose ideas of what to do. And this next move, like I wish I would have seen it, and I'll have to kind of keep it in mind. Like always try and do like the deflections if you can, or get into a position where you could deflect a piece. But yeah, if I would have just moved the rook over here, if he would capture it, this queen would deliver checkmate. So it's untouchable. But yet, if I would have moved the rook over here, it would give me another square to move my queen to potentially deliver a checkmate in at least a few moves, or get close to it. Anyways, I was like losing out on ideas. I thought about like I wanted to reroute my queen so I could point at the square or this square, mostly so that I could move the rook here to attack his rook and maybe attack his king again. So I was just trying to get in better positions just slowly. And I finally found this. I just wanted to kick his queen and push my pawns up. I wanted this pawn up here because it restricts his queen. He has to reroute his queen like along here, maybe up here, but most likely he would have to go back here and then move it over somewhere along this area, but it would make it uncomfortable. It's a mate of 9. I don't know how, but it's too many moves for me to see mate of 9. Yeah, I think it's that way for most people too. But here, check, check. Just try and think, well, I could capture there and then maybe trade queens. I have 2 minutes left of my 10-minute game. Didn't want to lose on time. He moved down. I used my escape square. He pushed his pawn. I delivered a check, and mostly I just wanted to take his queen off. My queen is powerful. I can just really gobble up pawns quickly and maybe promote a pawn up here or pawn up here, something. But I didn't have a whole lot of time left. I was feeling a bit of time pressure. But yeah, that would have been nice just to have seen this, because that would have been mate in 1. Mate in 1 is always worth spending a few seconds to try and find. But I didn't know there was a mate in 1 there. So anyways, just trying to deliver some checks and deliver checkmate. And I knew when he took that pawn that I had made into basically here and then here. There's no, it's that particular pattern I recognize. So that's what we did, and that got me up to 917. We can just move on to the highlights. So he got about 60.9%. I got a 69.6. I had 1 blunder. Luckily, he didn't spot it. I had 3 misses and 3 mistakes. I don't like seeing those numbers, but definitely a lot to learn from those. I got 83% in the opening, 72, and 65. So it says I played like 1,000. I was just happy for the win. And anyhow, go on to the next game. Next game, I got white, so I'd go into Jobava London. And I thought the right move would be to attack that square, because whenever they bring out the knight to this square, it's usually a good idea to bring the knight up to attack because moving that knight up there was a mistake. But in this position, since they have this and this out, they could just move the rook over here and I wouldn't really have anything for it. And I think they just kind of freaked out by my moves, and they just sacrificed their bishop right there, and I couldn't be happier. And then they went to move here, and I went to go up here because that could be a discovered attack, or would be a discovered attack where I can either move here, do a double attack, where I could hop in there and grab that. I thought I had options, move that up there. They would probably regret it. And they saw my plans and they decided, okay, let's not do that attack. So, and this time, since they moved the knight out here and knight back, this finally works because they didn't move the king, and so they move it, I take, they took. So this game was a little bit messy. I blocked with the knight. I just went ahead and castled queenside. With the Jobava London, 99% of the time I try and castle queenside. These rooks on the king side is usually more powerful, but his king is kind of stuck in the center there, so I don't think it really mattered a whole lot. Because he took, I took, and yeah, like I was a bit nervous about this. I think I'd almost rather put the rook over on this side, but apparently it wants me to bring up the bishop up here and lose my rook. I'm not sure exactly why. Maybe I'll look into it later, but I didn't want to lose it. So kicked him away, moved it back, because he lined up his rook onto my king. Kind of scary. So push, push. I pulled it back, and he attacked my pawn. And yeah, by him attacking the pawn, it left this pawn hanging. So I took it and traded down pieces. Traded rooks. He gave me a check. He took. I take. And yeah, and I took with check. And I attacked his queen. And he moved it over into the corner. And I wasn't sure exactly what all to do. And I didn't see right away that I could just move my queen up here, trade off queens because of that bishop. Sometimes I forget where my pieces are and what squares they're attacking. But I hope to do better. As long as I win. Deliver a check. And I thought that check was an important check to give, pushing his king further into his area. And I was wanting to get my rook and my queen lined up so I could pin his queen against his king. But I just keep trying to attack the queen, and hindsight, I probably would have brought my queen over here and tried to attack that way. But also, I wasn't wanting to hang my bishop either. I was a bit concerned about that at the time. just attacking his knight, get his knight away, move my rook over here. And I think he knew that his options were limited. If he moved his king over here, I can move my queen over here, force him over there. So I would keep his king on that back rank. I guess he could move his pawn up, but he just gave up. I took the win, and I was winning anyhow. It's up about 6 points equivalency anyhow, and I guess yeah, that's what it shows at the bottom there, 6 points of material. And let's get to the full screen highlights. This time I got 85.4%, and I consider like no mistakes, no misses, no blunders. I think just not having any blunders is what really propels a person up the ELO ranks more than anything. It says I played like a 1600, had a good accuracy in the opening, good accuracy in the middle game. I was never in trouble, and that's a theme to a lot of it. Is like I was never in trouble except for when I blundered there. But I mean, I'm dominating all these games, so I just hope I can continue to dominate. We'll see. Hopefully, I can do better. And thank you for watching, and we'll see. We'll just see where I can get up to. I hope to get up to 1,000 soon. All right. Take care. Have a great night. Bye.